Jill is about to put mail at Joe's door, but that's not what this video is about. I wanted to remember this little thought, which is just to stay acquainted with your gardens. And then I was like, what are you doing? She's like, Mom, never do this. I was like, oh no. Thanks, Joe. Bye. Stay acquainted with your gardens. You know, a garden is a large, ambiguous, atmospheric place that one gets to know personally like they would a human being, so that where every little bush and flower and different soil type, and the harmony and relationship between all of those different nuanced things that each individually you have a personal relationship with, those stacked individual relationships as they are in relationship with each other as a whole, and what the nature of that whole is a garden. That's a garden. And some examples of those gardens that I have are our budget, are our actual garden, are me learning to play guitar, me practicing the Hebrew alphabet, my business, Mandarin Electric Company, of course my marriage, of course my relationships, of course my overarching life, and that would be the big one, right? Would be the garden that I'm inside of, and where I play the role of a gardener inside of that garden. But how I play a role in that garden is through the relationship with somebody else. Wow, the way the wind is moving through the trees and making the sun do that right now is so awesome. So all of these things are different gardens, and you want to stay acquainted with them. You want to actually go kind of regularly by and just walk around. Just walk around. Just take a walk through your garden and look at things, not for the purpose of accomplishing anything, just for the purpose of becoming acquainted with your gardens. And if you can maybe even write down the main gardens in your life, and consider how long it's been since you've gone for a walk through that garden. Now, a walk doesn't take long at all. It's just a walk. And an acquainting walk is something that is really missing from our culture, but is vital to how things actually function, and is way easier to slip in than all this other productive stuff that we usually intermingle with the walk. So the walk ends up happening on accident sometimes, or gets forgotten about sometimes, or procrastinated from sometimes because it seems too labor intensive to actually do. But if we could understand and separate out this little walk of acquaintance from the actual productivity movements and the implementation of whatever you would learn, we would actually set ourselves up to, I think, be able to tend more gardens better, because the real nature of this whole thing, and the way we learn guitar, and the way we actually tend a garden, or the way we actually are in relationships with people, or the way we actually have finances, these things aren't stagnant or static. They are fluid and living, and will go on after we die in a lot of cases. At least there will be some posterity, an effect that comes from those things, and the fluid nature of those things is really what we want to observe. And that'll probably, ultimately name those gardens. But We just want to go on a walk. We just want to go on a walk and stay tuned in. Stay tuned in to the things we care about. And and it just takes a couple of minutes, usually. Yeah, but if we forget that what we're doing is just a walk of acquaintance, we'll get sucked into all of the practical implementation, which is now out of order. It's too soon. It's premature. Um, and so we should learn to appreciate just going on those walks. And what's cool about it is that there's many of these little gardens, like recipes in the kitchen. I cook dinner every single day. I was talking about with Julia yesterday. Like, could we write down all the different little things you've liked that I cook, so that way I could work them in regularly to stay generally acquainted with how, and it is a how thing, how those ingredients are acting with each other, and how those cooking environments are interacting with those ingredients. Um, a lot of flavor has to do with developing that flavor. And if you don't do it in the right environment, or don't manage water right, or salt right, or um, or oil right, or surface area, or heat, um, it doesn't produce the desired result, even if you put all the same ingredients in. And so just to stay acquainted with how that recipe works and how those different things are interacting with each other is enough for me to quickly make those dishes, or think about what to buy groceries for, without having to make big lists. And it makes everything kind of a joy to go to the grocery store, like, oh yeah, these are some of the things that I know how to do, and that correlates with my experience of having eaten them and how I felt after I ate them, how I feel now. Maybe I don't want to have a big steak. Maybe I just want to have a little bit of fish. Makes you feel different. Um, and uh, and so that's just just this picture of organizing it, as in the terms of staying acquainted with your gardens before even tending the gardens, um, is really important. And when you stay acquainted with all your gardens before you tend the gardens, you'll be able to look at all of your different gardens as though they were individual plants within their own garden, and you'd be able to know what the name of that garden is in your life, and you'd be able to know in which season it's appropriate to address which of those gardens. Just like outside, I have now become acquainted with the various plants outside of our house, and I know there is a season to prune an azalea. And if I prune it too soon, I will not have any flowers. And if I prune it too late, it won't be very happy for the winter. And I know when that season is. And so, because of that, in the space of the whole wide garden, I can sometimes understand exactly which thing to do first. And 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 that has this beautiful way of decluttering um, your brain, feeling like it just needs to perform everything on the list. Um, and so we start with the list and work backwards. But I honestly think starting with just becoming acquainted with your gardens will help us to have a lot less anxiety, because we'll have more intuition for the things that are already living and moving, and how to interact with them where they are. And if we could actually learn to care for something that is sickly, like a bush, or not, doesn't have the right soil or fertilizer, or has been a long time since it was cared for, it would help us to take things as they are, and to enter in where we are as we are. And it would help us to receive some acceptance, some grace for that position as a valid starting point, um, without always feeling behind, which can cause so much anxiety. And so I think that learning to walk around and just become acquainted with our gardens is really, in a lot of ways, the wisest approach to having a life that has more than one topic in it. Which, that's a whole other topic. Uh, yeah. Can you live your life with one topic? Maybe not one topic, but maybe in one manner. That is another story. Okay. It's me. It's me. Can I fit my head in there? I am the twisty type. Bye.